Welcome to this edition of Formation Matters. Today, I'm very happy to present to you Brother Daniel. Brother Daniel, could you tell us who you are, what you're doing?
Hello, I'm Brother Daniel Kroll. I'm from Canada. This is my fourth year here in Cheshire at the seminary, and studying.
That's a good thing, Brother Daniel, right? That's part of what he's supposed to be doing at this stage of life, so that's a good thing. Okay, so today we're going to talk about something that I think is really interesting, silence and union with God. And I think that if we're going to understand silence, it might be helpful to distinguish between external and internal silence. And why don't we start with what I think is easier at least to understand, external silence. So Brother Daniel, could you explain for all of us what external silence is?
Well, I guess external silence, really simply, is just not making noise.
Okay.
Right? Not speaking, not making external noises. Whenever you're at in the library, think of a library. You're
Okay.
supposed to live external silence.
Well, that's a really good point. A library is a great example of external silence. And then, our life here, especially, it doesn't stop at external silence. We try to live internal silence. How would you describe internal silence?
So internal silence, I guess, rather than just a void of noise externally, is more about recollection and I guess about awareness of what you're doing, right? To a certain extent. And oftentimes, at least how we live it here, that comes as being in conversation with our Lord. It's not about not talking with anybody, but about talking with our Lord throughout the day.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way of explaining it, and something that I actually like to use to picture this is that we can look at external silence as a silence of no. It's I'm not playing music, I'm not talking, I'm not making a lot of noise. But then internal silence is a silence of yes, of where yes, I am opening myself up for greater contact with God. And even before probably I have that contact with God, it's important to encounter myself, and where that interior silence kind of creates a place where I can get to know myself better. But Daniel, would you be able to share any experience or kind of how you see internal silence helping you grow in your knowledge of yourself?
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely my experience, whenever I have, I don't know, a week or something where there's a lot more activity and a lot less interior silence for me, right? I'm definitely not as aware of what's going on, and I'm just going moment to moment, trying to get things done.
Sure.
And then after the week's over, or after all that activity is over, whenever I'm able to have more interior silence, or whatever, exterior silence, which also helps to inferior silence a lot
Sure.
for me, I'm able to look back and go, wow, and then I come to certain conclusions and learn about myself, especially looking back, which I
Right.
didn't come to in the moment.
Okay, I think that's something that's really good, and something that can even help, kind of when we're in the middle of all that frenzy of activity, because we all have moments, periods of our life where there simply is a lot of activity, where we can't simply be walking through the woods peacefully each day and enjoying that, the beauty of nature, and that would even help foster our interior silence. But even when we are having a busy day, it's good to set aside some concrete moments where we do live that silence, probably even that external silence, which you mentioned helps so much for our interior silence, but because we see it as something that's a priority, right? And even part of our life here is we have it set up different moments of the day. We start off in kind of the big moment of silence is our morning meditation, where we're really dedicated there for an hour, and it's that time of scriptural meditation of God's work in our lives, right? Where it's kind of a big chunk of silence. But then even throughout the day, there's different moments where we do try to take a step back and reflect on our day. So that is how silence can kind of help us get to know ourselves a little bit. But then I think that as well, the big motivation is that we want to get to know God better. So, Brother Daniel, could you share a little bit how silence helps you in your relationship with God?
Well, I guess especially with interior silence, as I was mentioning before, really, it's not just nothing, but it is oftentimes a conversation with our Lord, right? And all of us naturally, whenever we're going around, we're talking to ourselves anyways, right?
Right,
In our
that
mind.
kind of
Yeah.
interior conversation.
Yes. And so to turn that to our Lord and just have a conversation with Him all day, I mean, and if you really intentionally do it, you can't have a conversation with somebody all day and not get to know them better.
That's a great point. Yeah, so I think that's great. I mean, obviously here we have some very special moments of encounter with God every day. There's that opportunity for Eucharistic adoration. We have the Mass, we have our times of prayer. But that what you just said, just kind of cultivating that presence of God throughout the day, it can have a transforming effect in our relationship with God. Well, thank you so much, Brother Daniel. Thank you to all of you for watching today. I hope that you liked this video. You can go ahead and click that like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, leaving a comment is always greatly appreciated. And I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless.
See you.